Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Seduce Me 2, The Demon War. In the last episode, we met Sam's wife. Her name is Carrie, and she's a good friend of ours apparently, and she's a witch, and she's pretty cool. So we were confiding in her about what that terrible nightmare that we had, and she pulled out her tarot deck, and yeah, some creepy stuff happened. All bad signs, basically. So I am very concerned, and she's very concerned about what's going to happen, especially with her upcoming wedding to James. But hopefully their love will be strong enough to defeat destiny or fate or whatever. So let's hope so. All right. We ordered takeout and sat together in our room, once again making the bed a picnic area. Why do you keep eating there instead of in the kitchen? I'm sorry, it's just a pet peeve of mine. I'm not the type who would like to eat food in my room because, that's messy and could attract bugs. I'd rather eat in the kitchen or dining room, not in my room. All right. We played a movie in the background, but our focus was on each other. He made himself comfy without a shirt. Ooh, yes, be shirtless more. Yes. And I made myself comfy with my head against his shoulder.
So, is everything all right? I made sure the reception hall was taken care of on my way back, so that should be in order.
Nice. Oh, wow. Good. Thank you. Yeah, everything's in order. We'll have a perfect wedding.
Was there anything you wanted to add to the wedding? It's not too late to include anything you like if you really want it.
Mm, he's so perfect. No, I don't think so. I think everything we have is good. James nodded before continuing to eat. I, however, stopped and stared at James. I was really going to get married to him. It was strange to imagine that I was really about to swear my life to someone for all time. It was like a dream come true. Why would I ever let something stupid like a nightmare shake me from it? Screw the nightmare. I was going to live a dream. I gently moved my food to the nightstand and pulled a hand under James's plate, making him stop to look up at me. Girl, the man's trying to eat. Why you can't wait? I'm sorry. Like, seriously. This is why you're eating in your room. You're like, forget the food, let's go straight to it. I softly pulled it away from him, placing his food next to mine before crawling over James and sitting over his lap. Promise me something? Oh, he looks cute. It's like he's blushing.
Huh? Anything.
What's with his finger, though? Oh, that's his thumb. It just looks strange. I don't know. Promise to stay with me forever. It seemed like a simple and obvious promise, but I wanted to hear him profess it. James continued to look up at me, silently understanding my need to hear it, and wrapped his arms around my body.
I promise to stay with you forever.
Until the end of time?
Until the end of time.
Aww. You can't break your promise to me, ever.
I would never dream of it.
James moved a hand up and tenderly caressed my cheek, making me nuzzle into his hand and close my eyes.
You're the one I want to spend my entire life with. I will give everything and more to you for as long as I possibly can as your husband.
I felt tears slowly run down my cheeks, which were soon brushed away by James's thumb. I nuzzled further into James's hand and held his wrist, almost hugging his arm to my chest.
Is the nightmare you had last night bothering you?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't help but nod in reply, frowning and biting my lower lip. I didn't want it to bother me. It wasn't worth it. I knew that James would stay with me and would never hurt me. James gently wrapped his free arm across my back and pulled me against his chest, moving his head to nuzzle my other cheek comfortingly.
Do you want to tell me what happened, or will you be okay?
I moved to wrap my arms around James. I wasn't sure if I wanted to tell him at all. Oh no. Ah, I I ugh, honesty is so important in a relationship and trust and uh but I'm worried. I almost feel like telling him will cause it to happen. I don't know. It's like a paranoia thing. Plus, I don't want to worry him, but it's like he's already worried probably, and I just feel like I don't want to lie to him. Uh, please let this be the right thing to do. I gently pulled away from him to look into his eyes. I had to tell him. It was about him after all. I I was in a dungeon. I was there with Diana.
Diana? Did she try to hurt you?
No, actually, she was trying to protect me.
From who?
Hmm. You. James stared, surprised at me, but remained silent as I continued. You came in and enthralled me, but it wasn't like you usually do it. It was forceful, and I didn't want it, but I was under your control. Diana tried to stop you, but you shot her. Then you came for me. For some reason, a weight was lifted from my shoulders. It was a terrible dream, but James deserved to know. As I finished recounting the nightmare, James gently moved his hands up and cupped my face in them.
Thank you for telling me, and I'm sorry that you experienced that kind of nightmare. But I swear to you that I will never hurt you.
I know you wouldn't, but I have a feeling like something's gonna happen to you. Like someone's gonna control you or brainwash you or something, because there's no way you would do that if you weren't being manipulated. I let myself become lost in his amber eyes, believing every single word he said. I could feel the love and care in his voice, and his warm hands assured me that he would protect me from harm. I wrapped my arms once again around James and let my head rest on his shoulder as his arms encircled my form. I loved him. He loved me. We would protect and love each other forever. Soon enough, the wedding day had come. I had received many pre-wedding gifts from guests that couldn't come, but I knew many people would still be at the wedding, since James was the Anderson Toy Company CEO. I even got fun texts from Naomi, Suzu, and Carrie as they tried to tease me with pictures of James in his wedding tux, but I deleted them all without peeking. I didn't want to see him yet. He didn't get to see my wedding dress, so I wanted to wait to see him in his tux. Alas, I had decided to dress alone at the mansion. What? Girl, that's a mistake. I am telling you right now. Do not be alone right now. I'm worried. The girls had offered to help, but I needed the time to myself. I had to reflect on the day ahead. I was about to be married. It was insane. I couldn't stop staring at myself in the mirror, dressed in the wedding dress of my dreams. Let me see it. Let me see it. I love wedding dresses. I want to see. I want to see. Give me a picture. Is this really happening? I knew the air wouldn't answer me, but I felt myself need to speak my thoughts aloud. I could hardly believe that I was about to walk out of the house and be someone's wife. James's wife. The thought of us together made me smile and close my eyes.
Talking to you.
Oh no. A voice I didn't know sent shivers up and down my spine. I suddenly looked around, hearing the voice echo in the room. On her wedding day, you mother effers! How dare you!
Essay de bere. Bila cuidan autos na pisara.
Oh dear. What? What was going on? Why was I hearing voices? This couldn't be happening. I held my head, trying to stop the sounds in case I was dreaming or imagining them.
Destinat. Lasre dere. Vienet la viden fata.
Oh dear. Stop! 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 Ooh. I screamed at the voices, not knowing what they were saying, but wanting them to go away. What I didn't realize was that my screams let out some sort of spell that seemed to freeze the air around me. Everything was still and silent. I could feel, however, that the room around me was frozen in time.
I knew it. I knew it. That girl has demon magic.
Uh-oh. What the?
Then quit talking and let's take her.
No.
The demon lord will be so pleased.
Oh, no. Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold of my feet, and I looked down and lifted my dress. Oh my god, under her dress. That's so messed up. Two pairs of evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. Oh, on her wedding day. Her pretty wedding dress is gonna get all dirty and torn and this sucks. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me! As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness they left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt a surface under my feet and I collapsed onto it, my body curling in on itself from the experience I had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap, not ready to get up just yet. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
What? I looked up, finally having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing in my chest. What the? Bunch of new characters, but at least one familiar face. I looked up to see 5 figures, strangers, monsters, beings that I didn't recognize. They all looked down at me in surprise, as if I had dropped in at a very bad time. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game without the tusks. He had broken horns and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. The other male was lanky in comparison, more human-like, but I could almost feel power emanating from him regardless. Oh, that's him with long hair. Okay. One of the women who was staring at me had rabbit ears. Rabbit ears. They twitched on top of her head as she looked at me and gripped her staff. Is she the healer? I'm just guessing. She seemed harmless, yet she had animal ears. The one creature that I couldn't discern the sex of seemed more excited to see me than surprised. What freaked me out about them was that they had wings sticking out from their back and they were floating. I'm gonna guess it's a girl. She looks very girly. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head as I looked at her surprised face. Her hair, her eyes. Diana? Oh dear. What are we going to do now? As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her.
What are you doing here?
Diana walked towards me and stared down at me. It was odd. She didn't look like a human, yet I wasn't afraid of her demon form as it towered over me. I was more in shock as to what was going on. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure quickly stepped up and bowed to her, kneeling beside me.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
Ah, thank you. I think you saved me.
You! So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes up at her. As she turned her gaze back to me, I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? This all felt wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live my happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. My instinct was to scream, cry, stay still, or attack. That's a lot of choices. I understand if you want to cry, girl. I feel you, but let's just stay calm, shall we? I couldn't move. My mind was empty of emotions except for fear. Why was this happening? Where was I? Why was Diana here? Diana stared down at me before sighing and kneeling down to my level. As she settled onto her knees, I leaned away from her, unsure of what she'd do. Was she going to kiss me again and take my energy? Knowing her, maybe.
Can you tell me what happened?
Oh, she's talking soft, as if I'm a scared, frightened little animal. Which I guess I kind of am right now. I didn't want to speak. I felt no courage to. My mind was so wrapped around this chaos that I felt nothing but fear and anxiousness. This couldn't have been happening. I was dreaming.
Is she okay?
I don't think so.
This is a waste of our time. Just kill her or something.
Yes, because that's a smart thing to do. Kill someone who is clearly traumatized and has done nothing to deserve death. Brilliant idea. Bravo.
He's sassy. I like him already. Diana continued to stare at me, waiting for me to answer. Why? She didn't cast a spell on me, nor did she attack me. She continued to wait and stare. Slowly, my mind began to sink into the situation. Diana was willing to listen. Was she willing to help? That was another question, but first I had to answer her. My voice didn't want to answer still, so I forced myself to nod, wanting to answer her somehow. Diana smiled softly, which conflicted with my memories of her. She never smiled like that, yet she was now. Character development, yes! I like it. I did really enjoy Diana's route. She's pretty cool. Diana held out her hand, ushering me to take it.
Can you stand?
Wait, did I play Diana's route in my LP in the first game? I don't remember. Ugh, my memory sucks. I nodded again and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around at the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that happened. I was about to go to the church to be married, and then I was attacked by this darkness. A couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it, and then I fell here.
A shadow summoning.
Diana turned to one of the beings, the lanky male. He's very pretty, I will say that, and glared.
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human. Nor do we know who this woman is, anyhow.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the Demon Lord's henchmen.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Diana crossed her arms and looked to me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the Demon Lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the Demon Lord gotten his hands on you.
Yeah. A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true? I would have died?
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Yes. Hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realized how vulnerable I was. I'm still mad I don't get to see the frickin' dress. I hope we get to see it in the end or whatever. I realized how vulnerable I was and felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana let out a sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home? Really? I couldn't believe my ears. You will really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Nice. Wait, like I never left the human world? Girl, look at these characters in front of you. I would think it's obvious you're not in Kansas anymore. Or in Chicago, whatever. What do you mean by left the human world? Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing to the room and beings within it.
Dear, do you not realize where you are? You are in the demon world.
My mind went blank. It couldn't be. I couldn't be in the demon world. No way. No way in hell. I felt myself back up against the wall behind me, suddenly afraid. I was in another world? How? That was impossible. Girl, did you forget everything that happened to you in the last game? Come on now. I'm sorry. Diana stepped towards me, both of her hands softly trying to show she meant no harm as she positioned them in front of her body.
Do not panic. We will send you back now, so there's nothing to worry about.
How will you power the spell? Bringing someone here is no easy task, but sending someone back consumes much more energy.
I'll use what energy I have now and rest. We can organize the siege another time when I fully recover. It's not like the Demon Lord can escape the corner we've trapped him in, so we do have some time to spare.
You'd waste time and energy on this human. We must strike now while the Demon Lord is weakened.
But the human doesn't belong here. She needs to go home.
Shall I prepare the return spell?
Do. I grant you permission to use my energy to power the spell.
That's nice of you, Diana. With a nod, the lanky man held out his hand towards the wall. I looked over in the direction it was aimed at. Diana's shadow. I watched as Diana's shadow simply stood against the wall, mirroring the movements of the real succubus in the room. Before my eyes, the shadow began to morph and expand on the wall on its own. Uh-oh. I looked back to Diana to see her wrapping her arms around herself and curling her shoulders over as if she was in pain. Her nails embedded themselves into her forearms, and I could barely make out a painful hiss escaping her clenched teeth. Girl, are you suffering from me? I feel kind of bad now. Was the spell hurting her that badly? I turned back to the wall to see Diana's shadow shaking and vibrating as if it was resisting the change the man was forcing on it.
You will obey my command. Open the gates to the void, and allow passage to the world we seek.
Transitum per renani pector genibus. Ubi aperit. Iano io. Perceptio.
Interesting. Upon Diana's final word, her shadow burst and expanded into an oval-shaped doorway. I stared wide-eyed at the passage before a hand placed itself on my shoulder, forcing me to look over. The one with the spear gently pressed my shoulder forward and looked down at me with an almost stern face.
You must leave now. The faster you leave, the quicker we can close the void.
Go! Go! Go get married!
I quickly nodded and lifted the bottom of my dress, stepping forward to make a run for the passageway. However, before I could bolt towards my freedom, a snarl echoed throughout the room. Oh no. She used up her energy for nothing. Ah, that sucks.
How dare you interfere with my summoning!
That's the Demon Lord? Why does he sound like Sam? Ooh. That's creeping me out. At that very moment, Diana began to scream, arching her spine and throwing her head back. Around her body were red-tinted bolts of lightning, flashing and shocking her form.
No! Human! Use the passage! Now!
He didn't have to tell me twice. I bolted towards the portal, diving forward as I neared it. But I was forced back by a burst of energy and a flash of red light. I fell to the floor, almost slamming my head onto the stone. No! Ugh.
Human will never, ever leave this world alive! You spineless worm!
Close the portal! The Demon Lord might get through!
Oh no.
But the human.
Close it!
I'm stuck here. I had a feeling that was going to happen. As commanded, the man pulled his hand back, visually forcing his arm back behind his body, and Diana's shadow quickly began to morph back into a simple shadow. The electricity around Diana faded away, and she began to tip forward. The man with the spear dropped his weapon and caught Diana in his arms, cradling her to his body as she panted and gasped for air. Ooh, new shipping! New shipping. Nice. Which it makes me wonder what's gonna happen when I play Diana's route, because I'm sorry, bruh, she's mine in that route. I'm sorry.
I don't sense the Demon Lord anywhere.
The worm has to scurry through the shadows to try and fight back. He'll be dead soon enough.
How is she, guard?
Diana seemed to look uninjured, but her body was twitching from the aftermath of the magical attack. Her visible eye was shut tight as she dug her fingers into the guard's jacket to cling to him. As her eye opened, I saw not a blood ruby red color, but I saw a cold and unfriendly golden color painted over her iris. Her mouth opened as she panted for air, and I could see hunger in her facial expression, but she continued to stare at the wall, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone.
There are no physical wounds, but she's been weakened. I must give her my energy so she can recover.
Oh yeah, you go have some sexy times, okay? Because she needs that in order to recover, so I guess he's her source now. Nice. The man swiftly moved and hooked an arm underneath Diana's knees, lifting her up bridal style as she clung to his jacket, shivering. The spear that had fallen to the floor faded into black and purple mist as he quickly left the room with her in his arms. My mind, however, began to panic. I couldn't go home? Why was I being forced to stay? Damn the Demon Lord, this wasn't right.
There's an imp in the castle. That is the only way the Demon Lord could have been able to interfere.
You! Guards by the door! Hunt it down!
A pair of guards that were apparently by the door saluted the one commanding them and ran off. I felt out of place, alone, terrified as to what was going to happen. The Demon Lord wanted me here, and his words pounded at my mind. How was I going to get home? Would I ever be able to go home?
Hey.
I looked up to see the winged person hovering near me before they moved and sat on their knees on the stone ground beside me.
We'll get you home, okay? Diana just needs a little rest, okay?
She needs more than rest. She needs to use a different spell to send her back. The Demon Lord will expect her to use the shadow spell again.
How about the normal way? I'm sure we can connect to a witch, or even the warlock she used before, to reopen a portal to the human world.
The warlock she used to get to the human world died, remember? And he was the most powerful warlock in the human world, practically a god himself. What other human could be used to open a portal without another human dying?
Interesting. So, that's right. Her grandpa was a warlock. And Diana actually inadvertently ended up killing him by coming to the human world. And we found that out during her route. So that was an interesting little tidbit.
It was merely a suggestion. The faster we get this human home, the faster we can move on and finish off the Demon Lord.
Well, what are we going to do with the human now?
We can give her a room to rest in. Humans need sleep after all. Maybe by the time she wakes up, we'll think of a solution.
Aw, the one with the wings is so cute.
Come.
The woman with rabbit ears looked down at me and lowered her hand to me, inviting me to take it. She had a kind but concerned expression on her face, so I trusted her. I slowly took her hand and began to stand up as the fairy figure brushed off the small patches of dust that had accumulated on my wedding dress. No! Thank you for helping me, dust it off. I couldn't do anything. I was forced to listen to the beings around me because there was nothing else I could do. Without them, I couldn't get home. My heart ached, but I had to accept my predicament.
Here, I'll bring you to the open ambassador's room. You are free to rest there for now.
What about Diana? The floating person giggled softly as the woman with rabbit ears cleared her throat.
She'll be fine. She's being taken care of right now.
Ah, yes. Taken care of.
Why not just say she's getting
And the brute strikes again with the lack of tasteful filtering between his brain and his mouth. You still have yet to prove me wrong about my expectations of you.
LOL.
Keep testing me, assassin.
Ooh.
I'm not afraid to rip your spine out of your body and use it as a back scratcher.
You can very well try, brute.
Ooh, nice.
Ugh! Would you both knock it off?
Come, everything will be taken care of.
Before I could protest, the woman led me out of the room and into the hall. Okay. I think we'll leave it right here. Things are getting really interesting, guys. Now that we are officially in the demon world. Man, I feel bad the wedding got interrupted like that, but not surprised either. Yeah. This is an interesting new crew that we've met, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day. Bye-bye!